Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the official Marc Lamont Hill YouTube channel. We are here talking about all kinds of stuff today. Earlier today, we did our daily Gaza update. Make sure you check that out. We also did an important analysis of President Joe Biden and his reelection plans or his reelection campaign. And of course, we got a couple new episodes of the Classroom and the Cell podcast with me and we got the Classroom and the Cell podcast with me and Mumia Abu Jamal. New episodes coming out today. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody also who is writing in from all these different places. Feel free to drop in your location if you want to. I love when people drop in their city, drop in their state, drop in their country. We got brother here, Abdullah, all the way from Somalia. We got Nia Hall writing in from University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. We got all kinds of folk here writing in and talking. We're going to get right at it, though. We're going to get right to it. But I wanted to at least shout a few of y'all out and thank you all for the support that we have, especially people from the MLH family. Stephanie Marquez is one of those people. We love you for being a member, somebody who joined the channel. We love you and we appreciate you. Same thing with Hanan in Seattle. All right, y'all, let's get it going. So I don't know Chrisean Rock well. I'll be honest with you. Everything that I know about Chrisean Rock, I know because I stumble into it when I'm watching my news wrap-ups or when I'm on social media and she or Blueface is trending. And it got to the point where I was hearing their names so much that I didn't know who they were and I had to start Googling. So I understand Blueface is an established artist with a big social media following. And then Chrisean Rock is known as a star in her own right now. We see her on the Zeus Network. We see her on the reality shows. We see her on social media. Of course, she was a former track star. Her story is actually quite amazing. We'll talk about that another time. But the young lady has talent. The sister has talent. But what struck me this time was not her talent. Rather, it was the fact that she decided to weigh in on her own Instagram Live about what's going on in Gaza. And, you know, at first I was going to ignore it. I did it. I took a day and ignored it. And then I said, you know what? Nah. We have to address this. And the reason why we have to address what someone like Chrisean Rock says is because for two reasons. One, she represents a point of view that a lot of people have who just don't have the platform. And two, she has a platform. So she is incredibly influential. And so part of what I want to do is speak back, not to her. I don't give a damn what she thinks so much as I want to respond to the people who care about what she thinks. And sadly, it's tens of millions of people. So anyway, they asked her what she thought about Gaza and what was going on. And here is what she said.
I don't believe in Jesus. So that's why it's happening right there. Like all them people that's bowing down with them carpets that's on the floor, they bowing down to a God that said to worship his son, to accept his son first. So, and then they making big palaces of it. Like, you know, like they really standing and sticking behind it. Like they made laws about their religion. So I'm kind of like, where Jesus was born at, they go over there believing something that's totally have nothing to do with him, right? Or no? Because like I seen videos where they pray at is cockroaches and infested with like. So what is God trying to tell us? That's what I want to know from this whole situation. Like, well, what is the message behind the chaos? Like, yeah, we know war to war, but it's like, okay, things always happen for a reason, and it's happening. What is the reason behind it? Not the economic, the political reason. I want to know the spiritual reason behind it. Like, then they say, girl, it's the same God. No, Jesus is different. Like, Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the representation of God. And then God told us if we don't accept his son, we don't receive anything out of it. So us praying to Allah, God, it's kind of like pointless if you don't receive Jesus. That's basically what's written in the word, in so many words. So I just feel like where the place was Jesus born at, like what y'all think? You think I'm like off or what?
I'm glad you asked. So this is why this is important. And again, I think long and hard before I respond to people. Sometimes I ignore them. Sometimes I let people wallow in their ignorance. And I don't know a lot about Chrisean Rock, so y'all could probably teach me infinite amounts about her. I know very little about her. Again, just what I see in the clips. I know about the tattoo. We can see the tattoo. I know about some of her battles and struggles with her co-parent, Blueface, among other things. But I decided to respond for a couple of reasons. One, there's a way that what she said was not radically different than what a lot of people say. Oh, you know what I mean? And it's part of what we talk about when we talk about Orientalism. She sees those people over there as these weird, uncivilized, barbaric people with a foreign religion and a foreign culture and a foreign society that then almost justifies what happens over there. Again, y'all might say, well, Chrisean Rock is young and ignorant. And I don't, I'm not going to name call a caller that. I'm saying that because of some of the comments that have come in, not because I'm not trying to throw a rock and hide my hand. But when we hear her say that, it's important for a few reasons, right? First reason,
believe in Jesus, so that's why it's happening right there.
First, people framing Israel-Palestine as a religious issue. This is happening because they don't believe in Jesus is a very commonly expressed position, not just by Chrisean Rock, but by well-educated, middle-aged, so-called politically sophisticated American citizens. They believe that if you're not Christian, whatever happens to you, you deserve. That somehow God is sending a message. Think about all the right-wing evangelical preachers that said that AIDS in Africa was God's punishment, or that AIDS in the United States, HIV/AIDS in the United States was God's punishment to gay people. Think about all the people that say the poverty and famine in the continent of Africa is because they worship pagan gods. This is not an uncommon position to take. And it's an irresponsible one, because when you do that, you ignore all of the oppression. You ignore all of the systems of oppression. You ignore all the structures of oppression. You ignore all of the policies that create oppression. You ignore the fact that as American citizens, we fund this war. We fund this occupation. We fund this siege. We fund this settler colonial violence. Telling people that this is somehow a religious fight, and that we're on the right side if we believe in Jesus, and we're on the wrong side if we don't, is not only anti-Christian doctrine, it's anti-logical. Do you think that every country where people haven't had access to Christianity, you think people growing up in Saudi Arabia, for example, just as one example, don't get, they don't get a lot of Christian missionaries? If I'm in a valley or a village, where we're practicing traditional, ancestral religions, and I never get access to a Bible or a Quran, she would argue you're going to hell. But two, does that mean that whatever happens to me, I deserve? This is just illogical, but it's a classic right-wing evangelical Christian narrative.
Like all them people that's bowing down with them carpets that's on the floor, they bowing down to a God that said to work.
All these people with carpets, she's referring to prayer rugs. But this idea, again, let's take it beyond Chrisean Rock. She's a mouthpiece for a position that I find troublesome, that I'm trying to unpack. Again, I'm not here to tear her down. Although she tore down Islam, she tore down Palestinians, she tore down Gaza. But she's saying they're praying to a God. This idea that Muslims and Jews and Christians believe in different gods is also simply untrue. In Islam, Muslims believe in the same God. Muslims don't pretend or proclaim to believe in a different God. Allah is a contraction of the word al-ilah, or the God, right? Allah is simply the Arabic word for God. If you were a Christian like you are, Chrisean Rock, and you were to go to Nazareth, or Bethlehem, just naming two places, but let's say Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth. I'm sure you heard of that. And you were to go to church there, when you walk into that kanisa, that church, when they pray to God, they're not going to say God in English. They're not going to say Gut from German. They're going to say Allah. If you are a Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever your religious position is, if you have a religion and you mention God, if you're speaking Arabic, you're going to say Allah. Just like in Spanish, you're going to say Dios. This doesn't mean anything. So again, I'm just trying to correct this for folk that don't know.
Worship his son, to accept his son first. So
now she's right. Muslims don't accept Jesus as the son of God. They don't believe in a Trinity. Jews, they don't believe in a Trinity.
And then they making big palaces of it. Like, like they really standing and sticking behind it. Like they made laws about their religion. So
this idea that Palestine or Palestinians are running around with these vicious Sharia laws or Sharia laws is also not true. There are places that have Islamic law ruled by Islamic law. Palestine isn't one of them.
Jesus was born at, they go over there believing something that's totally have nothing to do with him, right?
They believe in something that has totally nothing to do with him. It's not true. Muslims believe in all of the prophets, right? One of the statement of faith in Islam, amantu billahi, right? I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa malaikatihi, wa kutubihi, wa rusulihi, right? His books, kutubihi, right? That means Muslims believe in the Old Testament. Muslims believe in the New Testament. Muslims believe in, or the Injil, the gospel. Muslims believe in Quran, wa rusulihi, and his messengers. Isa, or Jesus, is a prophet in Islam. There's no belief that Jesus has nothing to do with their faith. That's simply untrue.
Right? Or no, because like I seen videos where they pray at is cockroaches and infested with, like. So what is God trying to tell us? That's what I want to know from this whole situation. Like, well,
now this is another interesting point, and I'm going to bring this up for a very specific reason once again. She said, I've looked on TV. First of all, that's your first mistake, right? And I've seen them praying in cockroaches. What she's trying to get at is effectively, if these people are Muslim and their conditions are so bad, maybe God's trying to tell you not to be that thing. But here's the problem. Go to Christian philanthropic organizations. Remember Sally Struthers commercials back in the 80s? Some of y'all do. She wouldn't, because she's born in 2000. You know how many Christian places people are poor? You know how many Christian countries? You know how many places where missionaries have gone? I mean, look at how destructive the West has been to Haiti. And some of those people in the most destroyed, underdeveloped, exploited places in Haiti, because of France, because of the US, etc., they're Christian. They still got a church. When I go to the most desolate parts of Puerto Rico, where again they've been under the, or Dominican Republic, you know what I often see? Una iglesia pentecostal, una iglesia de whatever, right? It's wild, right? In the most poor places I see religion, the most poor places I see churches and masajid. It ain't just Muslims, it's everywhere. But also, I'm going to get at something deeper, because it's not a coincidence that she's saying this. I want to be very clear about this. I want to be very, very clear about this. She's not just representing herself. She's representing a particular type of Christianity and a particular type of movement in Christianity, the prosperity gospel movement. She's a member of this church. I don't know if you can see it yet, but she's a member of this church. The church is called Faith City Central. And a big part of Faith City Central's mission, a big part of how they move, is through a prosperity gospel. A prosperity gospel. They teach that your health, your spiritual health, your faith, the strength of your faith can be measured largely by accumulating things. I see the quote here about, we don't judge the success of this ministry by our assets, but by the transformed lives. But in many ways, the transformed life is health and wealth. It is having a house. It is having a jet. It is having a big bank account. They teach prosperities of gospel. They teach word faith. And so part of what she's echoing is a very dangerous doctrine in Black in Christianity, period, but I'm worried about Black folk, that is spreading. It's the Creflo Dollar Christianity. It's the neoliberal Christianity that teaches us that we should be worried about what we have. And what that does is not only does it make us obsessed with capitalism and consumption, but it also it encourages us to donate to our church and make sure our pastor is rich. It does all of that. But it also makes us apolitical. It makes us say that, to get free, we don't need to shoot down unjust laws. To not be oppressed in Gaza, we don't need to end the occupation. We don't need international law to prevail. We don't need a ceasefire. All we need to do is believe in the right God, have the right faith, and get enough money. And if you're poor or oppressed, it ain't because of a system, as Jesus talked about. It's because your faith ain't right.
What is the message behind the chaos? Like, yeah, we know war to war, but it's like, okay, things always happen for a reason, and it's happening.
Yes, they happen for a reason. Oppression happens because there are oppressors. Exploitation happens because there are exploiters. Racism happens because there are racists and racist systems. These are not spiritual signals from above. There's no mystery spook God coming down telling us or making us unfree because we don't worship him enough. We have to dismantle the systems.
What is the reason behind it? Not the economic, the political reason. I want to know the spiritual reason behind it.
Not the economic or political reason, the spiritual reason. See, this is what I'm getting at. In case y'all thought I was grasping at straws or reaching here. She is literally saying, don't worry about the political economy. Don't worry about the thing that actually creates this problem. Instead, let's give a spiritual explanation. I'm not denying the spirit. I'm not ignoring the spiritual realm. I'm not saying there aren't spiritual dimensions to things. But we can't ignore the material circumstances any more than the person she follows, Jesus, did.
Like, then he said, girl, it's the same God. No, Jesus is different. Like,
not according to the actual religions. No, Jesus is not different. Now, Christians have a different understanding of Jesus in terms of the Trinity. And then there are non-Trinitarians. We could look at people like, I think even T.D. Jakes was for a long time. And he may still be, I just don't know, who also understand the Trinity differently. But at the core, Christians believe as a matter of soteriology, right? As a matter of what saves you, what gives you salvation. They believe in Jesus as a savior. That's different, but Muslims don't deny the existence of Jesus. Jews don't deny the existence of Jesus.
Jesus is the Messiah.
Jesus is the Messiah. She says, Christians believe in Jesus as the Messiah. Guess what? So do Muslims. Shocker. Isa al-Masih. Jesus is the Messiah in Islam as well.
Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the representation of God. And then God told us if we don't accept his son.
So y'all get this. Y'all seen it once. Y'all damn near seen it twice with me now. The point is, Chrisean Rock saying something stupid is fine. That's not my worry. I wouldn't even address it if it was just somebody saying something stupid. It's one, again, she has a powerful influence on millions of people who may now dismiss this issue. Not just Israel, Palestine, forget that. Don't forget that, but I mean, that's not the only issue in the world, right? They'll dismiss what's happening in Sudan. They'll dismiss what's happening in Haiti. They'll dismiss what's happening in Uganda. They'll dismiss what's happening in Congo if they feel like the people aren't right. If they feel like the people aren't worshiping the right God. And suddenly our religious affiliations becomes the determinant of whether or not we're going to help people. And then this position also encourages us to ignore politics, to disrespect and disregard politics and economics, and simply reduce everything to a spiritual matter. That is a problem. It's also a problem because those very same people who are encouraged to believe in the scripture only and to ignore economics, to ignore politics, to ignore the material world, they also get caught up in the kind of evangelical Zionism that leads to what we see every single day in American politics, where they believe that, well, yeah, Israel is supposed to be rebuilt. And yeah, that is, we support Israel because that's what the Bible wants. And even though it's an anti-Semitic eschatology, that is to say, they want Jesus to come back to forcefully convert or kill folk into Christianity, particularly Jewish people. That is an anti-Semitic and ugly religious perspective. But that's what they rocking with, yo. That's what they're rocking with. Because the Bible told them something that now trumps history books, that trumps theory, that trumps economics, philosophy, all of it. That's the dangerous part. And so I see a lot of people saying cult member. I don't know if she's a cult member or not. I don't think that church is a cult. I know a thing or two about cults. I don't believe that that church is a cult. But I do know as a matter of fact, that mentality is why the world is the way it is. We got to get past. I'm not telling people to ignore their faith. I'm not telling people to disrespect religion. But we can no longer spread the word that the misery in the world comes because people don't believe in your God, and we can't disregard the very real material circumstances that people struggle with every single day. We just can't. All right. Anyway, family, I wanted to thank y'all for that. Y'all got any questions or comments? Drop them in right now. Lauren Grace said, can you explain how Jesus understood as a Messiah? Just looking to understand. It's a very simple thing. And again, there are religious folk who will be much better at explaining this to me, religious experts, I should say, who are much better at explaining this to me than me. But, functionally in Islam, there is a belief in that there were prophets from Nabi Adam up to Adam, all of them, Abraham, Moses, all of them, Isaac, all of them prophets, up to Isa, and of course, up beyond Isa or Jesus, up through Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? The seal of the prophets, Khatam Anbiya. He was, Muhammad is the final prophet. And after that, in the Islamic tradition, there is now someone who will come back. There is somebody who will come back and return, a Messiah, right? That Messiah returns in Islam, similar to the Messiah returning in Christianity. The difference is, whereas Christians believe that Jesus was crucified, died, and was resurrected, right? In Islam, the Quran says something very different. Ma sulibah, right? He was not crucified, and that Jesus ascends and returns. Muslims believe that Jesus will return and he will be the Messiah. The Messiah is the one who wipes clean, right? The word mesah means to, like if you've had a memsah, I'd have a broom, right? And there's also in between in Islam, there's the Messiah, but in many traditions, in many schools of thought, there's in between, there's a Mahdi and there's a Messiah, right? There's one who guides, there's a Messiah who comes in between that, oftentimes is a mujaddid, a reformer. And so in Islamic eschatology, and y'all, you kind of put me on the spot with this. So I don't want you to, everything I'm saying is accurate, but I'm saying there's more detail I can give you. The point is that there's and there's different religious strands and religious traditions in Islam that have different beliefs about the Messiah and about the Mahdi, etc. For example, the Ansar, not Ansar in Yemen, but Ansar in Sudan, just as one example, believe that the Mahdi came. Muhammad Ahmed al-Mahdi came at the end of the 19th century. Mirza Ghulam Ahmed in the Ahmadiyya sect has been seen as a Mahdi. The Nation of Islam has said Master Fard Muhammad was the Mahdi, but the idea is that someone will come and guide, right? And in Islam, and that there will be someone who will reform, a mujaddid, right? And then that there will be at the end of times a Messiah who will fight the Antichrist, the Dajjal, and in Islam, that person is Jesus or Isa, alayhi salatu wasalam. Yeah, so that's it. So there are a lot of people who will point out the differences in these faiths But there's a lot of room to talk about the connectedness of the two. The connectedness of the two. So Messiah or Messiah in Islam is not exactly like the Messiah or Messiah in Christianity, but they're not the same. I'm sorry, they're not the same, but they're not radically different either. And it's important to note that. The Mahdi or the guided one is another concept that becomes interesting and complicated as we talk about different moments and different iterations of it. Every Islamic movement, every revivalist movement, every cult, every mainstream movement, they've all had at some point somebody either claiming to be El-Masih or El-Mahdi or El-Mujaddid, or they will eventually. So that's my short sort of answer to your question. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to trash I don't want to trash Chrisean Rock. That's not why I'm here. That's why I don't have anything negative to say about her. I do. I mean, I think trashing is what I have negative to say about her is that she said something that was deeply racist and Islamophobic, and disrespectful to Muslims and disrespectful to Palestinians, disrespectful to everybody around the world who's catching hell. And so I hope that at some point we can enlighten her. I can enlighten her. I can have a one-on-one conversation with her off the record. I ain't trying to school nobody in public. That's not the goal. I'd be happy to have a public conversation with with Chrisean Rock. But I'm more interested in teaching, in ways that will allow her and her platform to be used more responsibly. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, family, I appreciate y'all. Hit the like button if you rock with me. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a part of this channel but want to be. Hit the join button if you can become a monthly subscriber to really help us advance the platform and grow. If you haven't already and would like to, I would love for you to also make a donation through Cash App. It helps us build the platform, expand our reach. It helps us get more employees on board. It helps us construct that studio. It allows us to do lots of stuff. So just go to Cash App, $MLHTV. And make that happen. If you can't, that's okay. Just hit the like button and subscribe. It don't cost you a thing. We just want to have you as family. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Peace.